When most people imagine gardening, they picture soil, water, sunlight, and fertilizer. What they often overlook is the invisible world beneath their feet, a world that could completely change the way plants grow. The secret lies in fungi. Not the mushrooms that pop up after rain, but the vast underground network of mycelium, which is essentially nature's internet. When I first introduced fungi into my garden, I wasn't expecting much. I thought maybe I'd see some minor improvements in growth or healthier soil, but the transformation that unfolded shocked me. Within just weeks, my plants looked stronger, more vibrant, and more productive than ever before, and the soil itself seemed to come alive. The magic of fungi lies in their ability to connect directly with plant roots, creating what scientists call a mycorrhizal network. This network extends a plant's root system by hundreds of times, giving it access to nutrients and water far beyond what the roots could reach on their own. When my tomatoes tapped into this hidden system, they weren't limited to the nutrients in their immediate root zone anymore. Suddenly, they had an entire underground delivery service working around the clock. The result was faster growth, thicker stems, and earlier fruiting. My peppers, which had always struggled in my heavy clay soil, shot upward with renewed vigor, while my cucumbers stayed lush and green, long past the point when they usually wilted. It was like watching my garden on fast forward. The reason this works so well is that fungi do things that plants simply can't do alone. They break down nutrients locked away in forms that roots can't absorb and deliver them straight to the plant. Phosphorus, nitrogen, and trace minerals suddenly become available in abundance. They also act like tiny straws in the soil, transporting water directly to roots, which means plants can withstand dry spells with much less stress. On top of that, they boost plant immunity, triggering natural defenses that help ward off diseases and pests. In essence, fungi don't just feed plants, they protect them and make them stronger. When I decided to try fungi in my garden, I used a simple packet of mycorrhizal fungi inoculant, which you can find easily and for a low cost. For seedlings, I dusted the inoculant directly onto the roots before planting. For established plants, I sprinkled it into small holes near the root zone and watered it in. That small step completely changed the trajectory of my garden. Within 30 days, the difference between the treated plants and the untreated ones was so obvious, I couldn't ignore it. The inoculated plants were fuller, greener, and already showing signs of earlier production. It wasn't just growth, it was acceleration. But the changes didn't stop at the plants. The soil itself underwent a transformation. Fungi release special compounds that bind soil particles together, creating better structure, more air spaces, and improved drainage. When I dug into the treated garden beds weeks later, the soil had turned soft, crumbly, and honestly, just full of life. Earthworms were everywhere. Organic matter had broken down faster, and I could see these fine, web-like threads of fungal mycelium holding everything together. It was as though the soil had been rewired into a living, breathing ecosystem. I realized then that I wasn't just growing plants anymore. I was growing living soil. The best part is that once fungi establish themselves in the soil, they don't just vanish. They continue expanding their network year after year, creating long-term benefits. It becomes a self-sustaining system that reduces the need for fertilizer and cuts down on watering because the fungal network is always at work feeding and hydrating plants. What started as a small experiment in one section of my garden quickly turned into a complete shift in how I approach gardening. Now, I focus less on constantly adding inputs and more on supporting the natural relationships that already exist underground. Adding fungi also changed the way I think about tilling. Heavy tillage destroys these delicate fungal threads, so instead of turning over my soil like I used to, I now protect the fungal network with mulches, compost, and minimal disturbance. By feeding the soil instead of just the plant, I'm creating conditions where fungi thrive, and in turn, my garden thrives. What amazed me the most was how much less effort it actually took. Instead of battling with fertilizers, watering schedules, and pest issues, I had a system where nature handled most of the hard work for me. Unleashing fungi in my garden has been the single fastest growth hack I've ever tried, but more importantly, it has reconnected me to the idea that soil is alive. Every handful is full of invisible partnerships working together, and fungi are the architects of that hidden world. Watching my plants flourish in ways I never thought possible has convinced me that the future of gardening doesn't lie in stronger chemicals or more inputs. It lies in fostering these ancient natural systems that have been there all along. So if your garden feels stuck, if your plants aren't thriving the way you want, or if you're simply curious about unlocking the hidden potential of your soil, try giving fungi a chance. It might sound too simple to be true, but I promise once you see the results, you'll never look at your garden the same way again. The fastest plant growth hack ever isn't in a bottle of fertilizer. It's already living in the soil, waiting for you to set it free.